This is the Ripple V2 line, Ronbus's clean slate after a mess of promising early versions that never fully delivered. Now, with the re-engineered core, structural upgrades, and full USAP approval, it's finally stable, legal, and competitive. The question is, does it play like it belongs in the power conversation? I've got answers. Ronbus sent me all three models in the Ripple V2 series, the R1, R2, and R4 for testing. As always, they had no input on this review. Every conclusion is based on my own time testing these paddles and evaluating how they actually perform. If you do decide to pick one up, you can use my code MPB to save at checkout. What sets this lineup apart is the core. It's not honeycomb, it's not plastic, it's a dense EVA foam fused into a 3D carbon fiber lattice and sealed inside a unibody shell. Ronbus calls it Firecore, short for Fiber-Infused Rebounding Elastomer, their 4th generation internal build. The result is a paddle that plays quieter, feels more stable, and aims to fix the durability issues that hurt earlier models. And this time, it's not just marketing. All three shapes are fully USAP approved, backed by lab data, and part of a joint compliance statement between Ronbus and USA Pickleball. I've played all three models extensively, so let's talk about what's changed and how those changes show up on the court. All three paddles in the Ripple V2 lineup share the same core platform, Ronbus's Firecore. There's no honeycomb, no polypropylene, and no plastic inserts. It's a single material structure, dense EVA foam fused into an embedded woven carbon fiber grid, designed to compress and rebound with a tuned blend of elasticity and structure. I'll put some visuals on the screen from my friend Dustin at PB Medicine so you can actually see what's going on inside. The feel is distinct, dampened but not squishy, soft without being dull, and when the ball hits the face, it compresses like a tennis racket, then unloads like a spring, which is quite different from a Gen 1 hollow build or a Gen 2 thermoform honeycomb paddle. Each model uses a Toray T700 carbon fiber with a coarse peel-ply texture on the surface. That part hasn't changed much, but everything underneath has. Compared to the original Ripple, Alpha, and Beta builds, the V2 shows clear signs of structural reinforcement. The foam core is denser, the carbon skin is thicker, especially around the perimeter. You can see the denser grid and heavier wrapping in X-rays and teardown photos. But the real shift is balance. The V2 paddles aren't just heavier, they're fundamentally re-engineered. My R1 Beta had a swing weight of 111.44 and a static weight of 7.67 ounces. The R1 V2 jumps to 124.45 and 8.19 ounces. That's nearly a 12% increase in swing weight and a 7% bump in static mass. The R2 followed suit, climbing from 104.65 to 116.5 in swing weight, that's 11% higher, and from 7.64 to 8.15 in static weight, that's 6.7% higher. Normally a jump like that would kill explosiveness, but that's not what happened. Punch volley speed actually improved from 38.2 to 40.5 miles per hour on the R1, and from 38.1 to 41.5 on the R2. Serve speed dipped 58.9 to 53.5 on the R1 and 59.4 to 55 on the R2. But the overall power curve smoothed out. What you lose in raw baseline speed, you gain in consistency, forgiveness, and plow-through. Spin held up better than expected. The R1 dropped slightly from 2,392 to 2,210 RPM, and the R2 from 2,380 to 2,295. Still top tier, still very grippy, but a touch less explosive. The trade-off? More control. These paddles feel more deliberate. The bounce is more linear. You get fewer drops, more consistent depth, and way more targeting under pressure. But make no mistake, these are still very poppy paddles. Now let's talk dimensions and shape behavior. The R1 is an elongated 16.5 by 7.375 shape with a 5.5-inch handle. It's the heaviest feeling of the three and lands in the top 5% for swing across my entire paddle database. This shape gives you reach, power, and serious plow-through, but it can feel very slow if you aren't used to managing that much weight. The R2 is the standard shape at 15.875 inches long by 7.875 inches wide, with the same handle length but a much different feel. Despite its added width and the highest twist weight of the group at 6.65, it's the most forgiving and easiest to adapt to. It's the most balanced option from a control and transition standpoint. The R4 is the hybrid, measuring 16.125 inches by 7.5 inches wide. It's the lightest stock option at 7.99 ounces with 117.65 swing weight and a 5.95 twist weight. It swings faster than the R1, accelerates easier than the R2, and still holds up in fast exchanges. With just a couple tungsten strips up the neck, it became the most confident paddle in the lineup for me. Fast, firm, and reliable. These paddles aren't made to be light. They're built to be more controllable under stress, and they are compared to the beta models. If you're the type of player who customizes your setup, the platform responds well to weight tuning, if you can handle the extra mass. And if you just want to rip it out of the box and go, the R2 and R4 are the better starting points in my opinion. The Ripple V2 line plays dense and composed. The Firecore structure delivers a feel that's hard to compare directly to traditional builds. It's not hollow like Gen 1's and not overly crisp like some Gen 2 paddles. Instead, contact feels plush and dampened, but still responsive, very responsive. You feel the ball compress into the face and push out cleanly with no vibration. Power's present but controlled. You do get trampoline-like pop, but you don't need to swing out of your shoes to get depth. If you accelerate through contact, especially on drives or serves, there's plenty of firepower there. It builds with swing speed and releases in a way that feels stable and deliberate. These paddles don't hit for you, but they do reward assertive contact. Pop on punch volleys is strong, especially on the R1 and R4. The ball jumps cleanly off the face with a springy, centered response. It's more elastic than bouncy, which makes it easier to stay aggressive in fast exchanges without sacrificing control. That same feel helps with flicks, counters, and quick hand battles at the net. Control and touch exceeded expectations. Dinks and resets feel intentional and not floaty. The surface offers enough grip to shape shots without feeling sticky or overly soft. Drops come off muted but consistent, and once you adjust to the core's rebound pattern, resets become steady and reliable. The response stays stable across a wide range of contact speeds, which makes it easier to dial in the soft game. Maneuverability varies by shape. The R1 plays heavy at over 124 swing weight. It's a lot to move quickly, and I've seen some versions come in even higher. It brings real plow-through on drives, but feels sluggish in fast hand exchanges. The R2 is the most balanced, with plenty of stability, but still enough to react at the kitchen. The R2 is the quickest of the three. In stock form, it's light and fast. After adding two 4-inch strips of tungsten up the neck, it gained stability without sacrificing speed and became much easier to control under pressure. There's a lot of room to tune here. These paddles respond well to small weight changes, especially the R4 and R2, which open up in both feel and forgiveness with just a little customization. Even in stock form, each shape gives you a clear read on what it's built to do. You just need time on the court to feel how it fits in your game. Here's how all three shapes stack up in play. The R1 is elongated and it plays like it. Long reach, heavy plow through, and plenty of drive power. But with the swing weight north of 124, it's not easy to maneuver. And note, I might have a lighter version because Braden from PB Effect has an R1 with an insane swing weight of 128. If you rely on hand speed at the kitchen, this one can feel sluggish unless you're used to managing heavier setups. The R2 is the standard shape. It has the broadest face, the highest twist weight, lowest swing weight, and the largest sweet spot in the lineup in my opinion. It's stable, especially on blocks and resets, and offers the most forgiveness out of the box. The R4 is the hybrid and my favorite shape, slightly shorter than the R1 and narrower than the R2. It gives you a quicker swing and better speed through contact. The sweet spot feels tighter in stock form, but once I added weight up the neck, it opened up and played fast, controlled, and dialed in during transition and pressure points. Before we get into the recommendations, let's talk about how this lineup stacks up against one of the other carbon ribcore lineups out there, the Gearbox GX2. If you're familiar with the Gearbox GX2 series, the Ripple V2 lineup feels like a close cousin, structurally on the court at least. Both are unibody designs with no honeycomb, no edge foam, and no traditional core materials. Gearbox uses its SST 2.0 carbon ribcore system, Ronbus uses the Firecore system, a dense EVA foam fused into a 3D carbon lattice. The idea behind both is stability, durability, and a consistent feel that doesn't break down over time. From a playability standpoint, the feel is similar, quiet, dampened, and stable, but there are some clear differences. The Ripple paddles generate more pop and spin, especially on punch volleys and roll shots. The GX2 line, in contrast, feels tighter and more direct, less elastic and more crisp. The weight profiles tell you a lot. The Ripple R1 comes in at a swing weight of 124.45, slightly heavier than the GX2 elongated at 121.8. Twist weights are nearly identical, 5.9 for the Ripple, 5.85 for the GX2. Both have heavy plow-through and feel built for deep driving power, but the Ripple delivers more rebound off the face, while the GX2 feels a bit firmer and more composed. The Ripple R2 has a swing weight of 116.5 and a twist weight of 6.65 compared to the GX2 Hyper at 107.5 and 6.6. That's a huge gap in swing weight. The R2 feels more planted and stable, and the Hyper is significantly faster in hand, but maybe a touch less forgiving and doesn't offer the same pop or depth without effort. The closest matchup is between the Ripple R4 and the GX2 Integra XL. The R4 clocks in at 117.65 swing weight and 5.95 twist weight. The Integra comes in just under that at 114.25 swing weight and 5.8 twist. Both are hybrid shapes with quick acceleration, but the R4 gives you more punch off the face and a bit more spin potential. The Integra feels more controlled and quicker through resets with slightly firmer feedback on contact. Bottom line, both paddle lines are built for players who value structural integrity, quiet response, and consistent feel over time. The Ripple V2 leans more into pop, spin, and spring. The GX2 leans more into control, speed, and a slightly firmer connection to the ball. If you're deciding between them, it's less about better or worse and more about which sensation matches your style of play. If you're looking for a paddle that offers real spin, structural integrity, and a more grounded, composed feel, the Ripple V2 lineup is absolutely worth a look, especially if you're the kind of player who pays attention to how paddle feels under pressure or likes to dial in your setup to match your game. The R1 is built for players who want drive power and depth from the baseline. If your game is built around full swings, deep serves, and aggressive third shots, the mass and plow-through will work in your favor. But this isn't a finesse paddle, and it won't help you win hand battles at the net unless you're already used to managing high swing weight. If you've already played paddles like the Beta, this will feel a bit more dampened. The R2 is the best option for players who prioritize control, stability, and forgiveness. It has the highest twist weight in the group, which means fewer mishits, better consistency on blocks, and a little more help when your timing's off. It's also the best shape for players coming from a standard or wide body paddle. It just feels familiar. You won't need to modify it to get solid performance. It's not the most explosive, but for resets, dinks, and steady all-around play, it's the most user-friendly paddle in this lineup. The R4 is the most adaptable of the three. It's fast in transition, easy to accelerate through encounters, and once I added 2 strips of tungsten up the neck, it felt even more stable and connected. It's a strong fit for players who like to stay aggressive, those who drive through the ball, attack early, and stay active at the net. The stock version isn't the most forgiving, but once dialed in, it gave me the best combination of speed, spin, and control under pressure. And it's the one I don't want to put down. Now, if you want a paddle that's ultra light or delivers max trampoline with zero pop, this lineup isn't it anymore. And if you need a massive sweet spot straight out of the wrapper, the V2 line might feel tight without a little customization. But if you're after that Gen 3.5 or 4 level performance with top tier spin, a quieter, composed response, and build quality that matches the spec sheet, this lineup finally gets it right. Each model in the Ripple V2 lineup retails for $280, and that's right in the premium tier category. If you use my code MPB at checkout, you can save a little bit off that price. But at $280, you're paying for more than just surface texture and a power rating. You're getting reinforced construction, lab-verified compliance, and a core design that doesn't rely on traditional honeycomb or plastic. For players who are tired of paddles breaking down after a few months or getting pulled from a tournament play, there's real value in having a paddle that's built to hold up and stay approved. And I think that's where we're finally at with these Ripples. At least I hope so. The R2 and R4 especially offer solid performance for the price. And if you own a Ripple Beta, for example, Ronbus is offering a discount with proof of purchase off this new V2 line. If you're someone who plays a lot and wants something you can trust structurally without sacrificing spin or playability, this price is in line with what you're getting. To wrap it up, the Ripple V2 series isn't just a revision, it's a reset. These paddles are super fun to play and they are going to be wildly popular, and rightfully so. The R1 is your reach and rip it option. The R2 gives you face width and forgiveness, and the R4 blends speed and control in a way that thrives when the pace picks up. For me, the R4 is the one that's staying in my bag, but all three offer something legitimate, especially now that the build quality and compliance finally match the ambition behind the design. So that's it. That's the Ronbus Ripple V2 review. And I want to thank Ronbus for sending these paddles over. If this review helped, let me know in the comments which model you're most curious about. And also hit like and subscribe. And if you're thinking about picking one up, don't forget you can use code MPB to save some money at checkout. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.